Those who are unprincipled, ruthless, and morally compromised often find themselves rising the furthest. They deceive, betray, and manipulate, and yet the world seems to make way for them. Why? Because power does not honor virtue, it rewards utility. In the realm of influence, those who genuinely try to be virtuous are frequently overtaken by those who don't bother to pretend. When history is stripped of its flattering versions, a harsh reality emerges. The most dominant figures, from emperors to magnates, didn't reach the top through moral greatness, but through their willingness to do what others couldn't. They took risks without concern for ethics, guided not by what is right, but by what would work. The idea that righteousness guarantees triumph is a comforting lie told to the weak to keep them passive. A man trained to think that patience, kindness, and justice are the only keys to success will never question the rise of the ruthless. He will simply wait for a moment that never comes, while those unburdened by moral restraint consume everything around them. Power doesn't care for a kind heart. It favors a steady, calculating hand. The strategist who delays action out of compassion gives his rival the first move. The honest politician who won't lie will be replaced by one who lies better and more convincingly. In the world of influence, it's not goodness that wins, but effectiveness. Some may claim that success without ethics is empty, but that belief is a luxury only the defeated can afford. In the real game, the one where empires rise, wealth accumulates, and decisions reshape millions of lives, morality isn't a guide, it's a tool, used or discarded depending on the threat. Think of the man who chooses loyalty over gain, refusing to betray a friend even at the cost of everything. He might be remembered in tales and poems, but he will have lost. The one who betrayed him will take the rewards, secure his dominance, and perhaps even rewrite the history that justifies his betrayal. Society may admire noble defeat, but only after it has surrendered to the cunning winner. Virtue has its place, but often only as performance. A leader who appears compassionate may inspire devotion. A businessman who mimics honesty might earn trust. A commander who speaks of justice can rally crowds. These appearances matter not because they are sincere, but because they work. True power lies in the ability to project virtue while remaining free to discard it when necessary. Those who treat ethics as rigid chains end up paralyzed, unable to take the steps that would ensure victory, simply because those steps clash with their beliefs. In contrast, those who see morality as adaptable gain the upper hand. They can choose cruelty when kindness is weakness, lie when truth is dangerous, and betray when loyalty means destruction. Believing that justice governs the world is dangerously naive. Human actions are driven by fear, ambition, greed, and ego. Those who rise despite their viciousness are simply those who understand this reality. They don't romanticize the world. They don't wait for fairness. They take what they want because they've grasped how the system works. The ones willing to act without ethical hesitation always stay ahead of those who wait for permission. From ancient kingdoms to modern states, the lesson repeats itself. Power goes to those who are willing to defy what others consider sacred. The noble may earn respect, but it's the ruthless who shape laws, lead armies, and determine peace and war. They don't seek approval. They don't fear public anger. They fear only the loss of control. Pure morality cannot coexist with true power. To lead, one must deceive. To command, one must be ready to punish, to endure. One must sometimes become what others would condemn. But these so-called monsters are not the exception. They are the product of a world that punishes hesitation more harshly than cruelty. In the contest for control, it isn't truth that triumphs, but the image of truth. Societies are governed not by fact, but by perception carefully crafted and maintained. Those who rise are not necessarily the smartest, the most capable, or the most ethical, but the ones who seem to be all of these things. In a world moved by emotion, symbolism, and repetition, the ability to deceive becomes more potent than truth. People don't follow logic, they follow spectacle. They trust the man who seems like a savior, even if he leads them to ruin. They embrace the one who speaks of peace, even if he wages war. Truth demands effort and discernment, but perception is easily fed through stories, gestures, and images. So the worst of people succeed not by being virtuous, but by being seen as such. They disguise cruelty with noble appearances and mask ambition with words of duty. A leader who wishes to dominate must perfect the performance of virtue. He must know how to lie with charm, steal while offering comfort, promise everything while delivering only what serves him. He understands the crowd doesn't seek truth. They crave clarity and comfort. They want to follow someone who looks like a leader, even if he leads them astray. Reality is complicated and hard, but appearances are simple and satisfying. Reputation outweighs truth. A man admired for honor can commit dishonorable acts and still be defended, while someone with a bad reputation can do good and still be doubted. This imbalance allows the corrupt to prevail because they don't sell reality. They sell stories. They hire praise, silence criticism, and fund charitable acts to cover their tracks. In this world, those who master appearances rise further and faster than those who cling to authenticity. A smooth-talking manipulator can do more harm than a soldier, turning allies against one another, destroying reputations and shaping outcomes, all while looking loyal and fair. The greatest influence comes not from brute force, but from the ability to shape belief. A well-placed rumor can do more damage than 1,000 troops. A carefully staged act of generosity can erase a legacy of corruption. The powerful don't need honesty, only credibility. Those who miss this truth remain vulnerable. They assume good deeds will speak for themselves, that merit will carry them upward. But unless merit is seen, it doesn't matter. And if their enemies are louder, more dramatic, and more skilled at spinning lies, they will be outmaneuvered. The moral man may be forgotten, while the schemer is celebrated. The mistake of the righteous is to fight only with truth, while the cunning use illusion like a sword. It's not enough to act wisely. One must appear wise. That image must be cultivated. Every word, gesture, and symbol must serve the goal of control. The powerful understand this, and they live accordingly. Their flaws are hidden, their sins rebranded as strengths, and their opponents silenced through ridicule and scandal. While truth hides in the dark, perception rules in the light, and power lives there too. Those who succeed are often the least restrained in shaping how they are seen. They will pretend humility while plotting betrayal, use religion to hide greed, pose with the poor before dining in luxury. Their brilliance lies in recognizing that people don't want harsh truths. They want comforting lies. So they give them heroes to love, villains to blame, and stories that make them feel good. The one who commands the narrative commands the world. It's not what he's done, but how he spins it. Not who he is, but who he convinces others he is. That man becomes untouchable. The one who can't do this fades into obscurity, no matter how noble. Power, in its rawest form, isn't earned through kindness. It's taken through control, sustained through fear, and expanded through calculated force. This isn't random cruelty, it's deliberate, strategic coldness. The world does not punish this. It often rewards it, because beneath all the ideals, laws, and customs lies a hard truth. Order is preserved not by virtue, but by the credible threat of pain. A ruler who can't punish won't be obeyed. A leader who can't be feared won't hold loyalty. Those with real authority know this. Crossing them comes at a cost, and whether that cost is paid in blood or something else, it must always be real. That threat is what makes obedience possible. Rational individuals aren't driven by lofty ideals. They're motivated by incentives, and few incentives are as powerful as the urge to avoid pain. Deliberate cruelty isn't careless or chaotic. It's controlled, targeted, and calculated. It acts not as a blunt weapon, but as a surgeon's knife, used only when necessary to reinforce order and send a message. A strategically delivered punishment, a sudden dismissal, or a quiet removal isn't random. It communicates boundaries, shows who holds authority, and warns what awaits those who challenge the structure. Mercy that's constant and unconditional invites betrayal, but cruelty, when used with precision and timing, strengthens control. This is why those who are most feared often climb to the top. They're not held back by comforting delusions. They make hard choices without hesitation, understanding that in the struggle for influence, sometimes damage must be done to prevent collapse. To succeed in a competitive world, one must be prepared to inflict discomfort, emotionally, politically, financially, or even physically, if it secures one's position. Every system, be it government, business, or institution, relies on hierarchy, and hierarchy isn't just upheld by skill, but by the fear of what happens when rules are broken. Those who excel know how to apply force under the cover of civility. A bureaucrat in a suit can destroy just as ruthlessly as a general, only with firings, exclusions, and silence. A military leader may command troops, but a corporate leader can end careers, reputations, even futures, quietly and cleanly. Power favors those who know how to implement cruelty in ways that leave no mess, but leave lasting marks. The most potent cruelty isn't always public. In fact, the silent, subtle kind is often the most effective. The truly powerful don't need to raise their voice. Their presence alone is enough. Their reputation speaks for them. When people talk about how dangerous it is to cross a certain leader, the battle is already won. Fear spreads faster than reason, reaching the gut before the mind can respond. Those who understand this are rarely challenged more than once. What some call cruelty, the strategist sees as discipline. It's a way to test loyalty, to apply pressure, create temptation, and watch who stays loyal and who betrays. Those who remain prove their value. In this way, cruelty refines the inner circle, leaving only the dependable and committed near the center of power. Sentiment has no place in these decisions. Personal bonds, friendship, family, history mean nothing if they interfere with control. It's important to understand that the cruel aren't always sadistic. Many don't take pleasure in pain, but see it as a necessary part of leadership. They know what failure to act can cost, not just to themselves, but to everything they govern. Whole empires have collapsed because a leader hesitated to eliminate a threat. Kingdoms have fallen because mercy was granted to a future enemy. Those who rise to the top don't let emotion cloud their judgment. They make the hard call even if it means being feared or hated. Power doesn't accommodate the faint-hearted. It demands not just the ability to be cruel, but the intelligence to do so precisely. Overuse of cruelty incites rebellion. A total absence of it invites defiance. But those who apply just enough to maintain control build legacies. Over time, their cruelty becomes invisible, embedded in laws, customs, and consequences. People forget the hand that created the fear. They only remember the order. Measured cruelty also encourages compliance. When consequences are clear and consistently enforced, people adapt. They become predictable, self-regulating. This is how the powerful maintain stability, by making rebellion unimaginable. And once peace is established, even those who quietly fear the leader will praise him. The public comes to see the harsh ruler not as a tyrant, but as a guardian. They forget what it cost and remember only the security they gained. In the arena of power, public loyalty isn't won through fairness or truth. It's secured through displays of strength. People may talk of justice, but what they truly crave is certainty and authority. They align not with the most righteous, but with the one who seems unshakable. The unwavering leader commands more loyalty than one who pleads for understanding. The crowd isn't rational. It's emotional and reactive, drawn to strength more than principle. Their support goes not to the morally upright, but to the one who convinces them he cannot be overthrown. When chaos looms, people don't ask who is right. They ask who is strong. They want protection, consistency, and assurance that tomorrow won't fall apart. A man who appears decisive and unstoppable will always attract more loyalty than one entangled in moral indecision. Justice, to the masses, is hard to see. It moves slowly, quietly, and requires thought. Strength, however, is visible. It shows up in actions, in confidence, in swift decisions, and punishment. People respond to these signs. A strong speech, a crackdown on dissent, or the silencing of critics communicates control, and control is what the public, consciously or not, desires. Even if they grumble in private, they submit in public. They accept the rule of the strong because they fear the chaos that weakness might bring. They would rather endure a harsh ruler who guarantees order than follow an idealist who cannot enforce their vision. A just leader without the means to apply justice is ignored. An unjust leader with power is obeyed. That's the paradox. Fairness without force is overlooked, while force without fairness is followed. Fear, more than admiration, holds sway over the masses. They may applaud virtue, but they obey strength, because strength offers security. A leader who can instill fear without appearing monstrous will always hold the advantage. Fear doesn't shift with public opinion. It anchors loyalty in survival. Given the choice, people follow the one they fear, especially in times of uncertainty. Certainty amplifies strength. The crowd gravitates toward the leader who appears sure of himself, who speaks without hesitation and acts without second-guessing. His confidence becomes contagious. They don't need to understand his vision. They just need to believe he knows what he's doing. By contrast, a leader who reflects, consults, and invites disagreement seems unsure. Even if praised for his values, he doesn't inspire the same loyalty. The strong also know how to weaponize enemies. By highlighting a threat, real or fabricated, they unite people under their protection. Fear of outsiders, traitors, or ideologies strengthens the ruler's grip. It's not about justice, it's manipulation, but it's effective. The masses rally more easily against a threat than for a principle. They don't ask if the ruler's methods are fair. They only ask if they'll be kept safe. Power also thrives on theater. It needs to be performed through grand speeches, public punishments, sweeping changes. These aren't just actions, they're rituals that reinforce dominance. They show who's in charge and create the illusion of invincibility. This illusion becomes reality because once people believe a leader can't be challenged, they stop resisting. They may whisper their doubts, but they won't act. A good man who lacks strength will eventually be tested. His virtue will be seen as vulnerability. Opponents will rise, and the crowd, sensing weakness, will shift its loyalty. They won't wait to see if his justice succeeds. They'll side with whoever seems stronger. Loyalty is shallow. It vanishes the moment power slips. People will trade justice for stability without a second thought. Even in democracies, this dynamic holds. The public may speak of rights and values, but beneath it all, they respond to strength. Justice might win elections, but fear, certainty, and dominance secure control. The most feared leaders understand this. They don't appeal to logic or ask for belief, they demand it. In a world filled with uncertainty, the masses crave protection, and those who offer it, regardless of their ethics, are the ones they follow. In the unforgiving arena of power, morality isn't a guide, it's a liability. Those who cling to it early are consumed by those who do not. History shows the truth few want to admit. Morality only becomes useful once power is firmly in hand. Until power is firmly held, morality is a liability, not an asset. It slows down decisions, weakens determination, and hands an advantage to those untroubled by ethical boundaries. The so-called worst people thrive not despite their lack of conscience, but because of it. They understand that ethics are a privilege reserved for those who have already won, not a requirement for those still fighting to get there. Power isn't gained by being morally upright. It is seized through decisiveness, intelligence, and control. In a world driven by scarcity, rivalry, and conflict, those who rise must be prepared to act swiftly, even when those actions go against cultural norms, religious doctrine, or philosophical ideals. Success doesn't come to those who hesitate in the face of brutality. It comes to those who are efficient and unafraid. Moral codes are not immutable laws to them. They are tools to be used when helpful and discarded when not. Only when a leader is fully established, when opposition has been eliminated and authority cemented, can he afford to speak of ethics. Only then does morality become useful to his rule, rather than a threat. He can build hospitals, grant pardons, and finance cultural projects, not as proof of inner goodness, but as signs of stability and dominance. Morality in such hands becomes theater, a calculated effort to win affection, build a legacy, and project the image of a benevolent ruler. But the path to this performance is paved with unseen or conveniently forgotten acts of cruelty, betrayal, and manipulation. The masses rarely question how a ruler gained his position. Once in power, they admire his piety, praise his wisdom, and celebrate his reforms. They don't dwell on the promises he broke or the lies he told. As long as he maintains order and delivers results, they embrace the illusion of his virtue. And if he is smart, he will ensure that the darker parts of his rise are buried beneath parades, monuments, and scripted speeches. The public is eager to believe their leader is noble because it makes their obedience feel like a choice instead of a necessity. Those who attempt to gain power while clinging to morality from the outset often fall before they can begin. Their caution is read as weakness, their honesty is turned against them, and their devotion to fairness is exploited by those who are under no such constraints. The world doesn't pause for idealists, it devours them. The most ruthless rise because they understand that power must be captured first and refined later. They strike quickly, justify afterward, and frame their victories as redemption. Even within systems that claim to uphold ethics, democracies, religions, global institutions, the same rules of power apply. Success doesn't come to the most righteous, it comes to the most calculating, the most adaptable. They know when to build alliances and when to break them, when to show mercy and when to crush. For them, morality is a disguise, something to be worn when convenient and removed when it obstructs their path. They speak of justice while silencing dissent, preach equality while centralizing control. The contradiction is irrelevant. Outcomes are what matter. And often, the illusion of being good holds more sway than actual goodness. If a leader can convince people that his actions serve a noble cause, be it national pride, social advancement, or divine duty, then the masses will excuse behaviors that would otherwise be condemned. Those same actions, repackaged, become necessary evils, or even heroic. The worst people are experts at this. They know that being seen as a savior or a tyrant is mostly a matter of narrative. While those who lead with pure ideals face endless dilemmas, they try to please everyone, act cautiously to avoid betraying their values, and in the end, are judged not only by their opponents, but by their own followers, who expect perfection. Such leaders may be morally admirable, but they are rarely effective. Their downfall is not a reflection of their failure as human beings, but a testament to morality's fragility in a world run by force. Those who grasp power understand that moral and practical realities often diverge. They act in the real world and reshape moral interpretation afterward. They commission favorable histories, reward supportive voices, and build institutions that sanctify their past. Over time, the world forgets what they did to rise and remembers only the image they built. This is how morality isn't just delayed, but redefined by those strong enough to control the narrative. The worst people understand this intuitively. They don't waste time defending their methods. They don't ask if their rise is fair. They focus on winning, knowing that victory erases most sins. Morality is the privilege of those who no longer have to fight, not the strategy of those still climbing. And in the pursuit of power, those who stop to ask what's right often lose to those who only ask what works. Power does not favor the virtuous. It favors the effective. Those who dominate are rarely those who are most kind or honest. They are those who accept the world as it is, a place where image outweighs truth, cruelty secures order, and the people desire strength more than fairness. What many label as the worst are often those most willing to use tools others avoid: deceit, fear, strategic violence, and moral compromise. Not for chaos, but for stability. This isn't a condemnation of power, but a recognition of its reality. The rulers who endure are those who understand when to be harsh and when to look merciful, who wield reputation like a weapon, and who postpone virtue until their position is unassailable. The illusion of morality can benefit power, but practicing it too early often guarantees defeat. To navigate power, one must stop wondering why the worst succeed and start seeing what they're willing to do that others are not. They prevail not out of evil, but out of clarity, because they do not seek validation. They seek control. And in a world where most people retreat from responsibility, risk, and discomfort, those willing to shoulder the burden of rule at any cost will always rise above the rest.